Welcome to the Purple Bear Podcast. Our first guest is a close friend and an up-and-coming singer, introducing Billy H.T.
Yeah, glad to be on here. Thanks for inviting me to be on your show, man. I can't wait.
This is the redo because we had a little bit of issues, but it's all good.
Yeah, he was over the place last time in the great scenery. This is my kitchen area.
Doing a little bit of remote action today, but it's all good.
No worries. Can't wait.
So let's introduce you. I've known you for probably over 10 years now.
Yeah, we both went to college, Fitchburg State, at the same time. I want to say the fall of 2012. So yeah, almost 13 years now. Yeah, it's crazy.
And we met on the basketball court, right?
Yes, it's actually the first time how we met. That's funny you remember that.
How could I forget?
How can you forget?
So you're a singer. Would you say you're professional, semi-professional?
I like to think I'm semi-professional because at this point I'm going to gigs where it's scheduled in advance and I get paid for them. So I would say I'm semi-professional at this point. Yeah,
That sounds about right.
yeah, and have received vocal lessons from someone that teaches semi-professional singers that had semi-professional success. We'll be back with a producer that has helped singers get semi-professional careers. So yeah, I think I'm on that level for sure.
And how long have you been singing for?
All my life, really. I mean, I started singing consistently back in high school, but I didn't start taking it seriously in terms of like going out and performing until college when I joined the a cappella group there.
Okay.
And then it's kind of the next step, after college, then I started performing live at bands at different places and parties and events.
And what was the name of the a cappella group?
Harmonic Velocity with
yes.
Fitchburg State. Yeah, that was a great time, great experience.
And what do you think you gained from singing with Harmonic Velocity?
Oh, well, when I first started taking singing seriously in high school, I did vocal lessons during that time, and I had great teachings from the choir director of that high school. But I was still kind of ignorant, I guess you could say, or arrogance, probably the better word to a lot of things. I was very cocky, as felt like I was the best thing since sliced bread type of attitude. And I was really that same way when I first got into college a cappella group. And you find out very quickly that almost everyone in the group is just as good as a singer, and in some cases better. So that definitely humbled me, but it was a great experience too. And also because a cappella and choir are two completely different things. It's night and day, because in a chorus, there's tons of individuals, dozens of people.
Working together to sing.
Whereas in a cappella, it's a very small group. I mean, in my tenor group, which is the high male part for singers, it was probably 5-7 guys. So you could all hear yourselves. So if it doesn't sound good, you can hear it easily and distinctively. And the other thing too is, when you're in a choir group, you have the gentleman playing piano and directing you, kind of giving you a look like, hey, you're doing great. No, you're not. Bring it up, bring it down. Can't really do that in a cappella. You just
because there's no music, right?
There's no music. You are the instruments. You are the musicians. You're making the beatbox sounds. You're making the harmony sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one really telling you you're doing good or you're not doing good. You just have to be as prepared as you can. Maybe look at the guy next to you, but you just basically have to. When you sing a cappella, everything should sound natural to you, like you've sang it hundreds of times.
Yep.
And I think that helped me because it taught me very quickly, whatever goes on, no one's going to tell me on the spot if I'm doing good or bad. You should be ready. The one thing I did learn, especially so just a quick story. When there was a gap when I went from after a cappella, I did acoustic open mic sessions with my dad to get the experience performing at bars and pubs, things like that.
Yep.
And you could tell quickly if people were interested or not. Because it's different than acapella. Because acapella, you are the show. Like people are going to see your show. And a lot of open mics acoustics, yeah, people there to see a show, but they're also there just for the experience, have a good time, chat with people. You're kind of the background.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out very quickly that if you sound good or really good, people will stop and listen.
Yep. And you get people possibly singing along or clapping.
Right. And so that kind of, and the acapella group experience helped me with that because sometimes people might not be interested in a certain song or certain moments. So I'm just going to show up and show out and make sure we are memorable and that they came for a good show. And that led to the attitude of even when I did open mics, I'll make sure people are going to hear and enjoy this show and pay attention. And then obviously that expanded once I started doing bands a little after college, after I graduated.
All right, let's backtrack because I skipped ahead a little bit. So how old are you?
I'm 31 right now.
And when did you start singing about?
When did I start singing? Well, the story of how I started singing is, I think it's cute and funny all at the same time. So when I was very young, I was a very socially awkward kid. And when you're young, like most kids, you're trying to fit in, but you're also trying to figure out what makes you special, what makes you stand out from the crowd in a good way, in a positive way. And I thought it would be sports. Love sports even then, love sports now, love to work out and stay in shape if I can, as often as I can. Still love to watch sports, still like to talk about it. But I was not a naturally good athlete at a young age.
What sports did you try?
Different kinds: basketball, football, baseball, little track at a young age. But, as a kid, you keep trying. That won't stop me. I'm going to try to find different ways. And how singing came about was kind of funny because in elementary school for graduation, you had to participate in the chorus because part of the graduation was you had to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the final ceremony. And the choir director, the music teacher at the time, was like, who wants to do a solo as part of the finale? I really don't know why. I think at that time I was just like, yeah, I'll try it. What the heck kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I just out of blue, I was like, sure, I'll try. And I never sang before. Never tried singing. Was very quiet, shy kid. She was just like, okay, it's this key, it's these lyrics. Good luck. Tried it next day. Everyone in that group, in the class, everyone, even the choir director, was just shocked at how pitch perfect it sounded and how great it sounded. Mm-hmm. And then I ultimately did the solo. But the funny part about that is you would think I would keep trying that in middle school. No, if anything, it was the opposite. I kind of thought that, okay, I can sing, but I thought it was kind of lame. At that time, I thought it was lame for a boy, young male, to try to be a singer. I didn't think that was cool. And at that
time, was this coming from you, or does it your peers kind of giving you that impression?
50-50. Okay. It was a little bit of me wanting to fit in and a little bit of some guys being like, you know how middle school is, kids just kind of picking on you that, oh, you have
it's a very awkward stage for kids.
Yes. And at that time I had a super high pitched voice. Like I could sing soprano when I was very little. So I just thought like, okay, that's not the way to go because guys are supposed to have low tone voices, right? But then it kind of came up out again, same story, different chapter. Final grade of middle school, 8th grade, didn't really sing much at that point. Music teacher's like, hey, look, you're going to fail this class unless you sing. You have to sing as part of participation just to get a passing grade. So I did again, not singing for a couple of years, for at least 2 years. Once again, everyone was shocked by how good it sounded, including the teacher. And she was just like, how would you like to do the graduation solo song for that? So at that point, as soon as I did it and the reaction of people loving it and coming up to me and congratulating me, it just kind of dawned on me at that point that, you know what, this is my calling. I'm good at this. I'm naturally good at it. And if people, and the reaction, not only from peers and friends, but my parents and family members, how
Hmm.
much they loved and adored it, it just made me realize that I got to stick with this. And if people make fun of me for it, then it is what it is. But at least I know what my calling is. I know what I'm good at, and I'm going to work for it. And then that's where my attitude changed in high school. I took vocal lessons. I was in chorus. I try to hear a variety of music and different genres, not just one or two, not just one or two artists. Try to listen to everything and anything possible and try different stuff and push my limits. And yeah, that's how it all started. So that's why I think it's kind of funny and cute because I didn't do it the natural way, like singing at 5 and just sticking with it. It was a very up and down roller coaster
Yeah.
type of ride.
So you got humbled around middle school, and then after that, you realized this is bringing great joy to people. You should continue it on and explore other genres, right?
Yeah, because when you're in chorus, you meet all different types of people, all big different backgrounds, different styles of singing. All of them love music in some way. Some love country, some loved R&B, some loved rock, some grew up with families that only listen to 70s rock and roll,
Mhm.
or some listen to songs that were going on at that point in the world, right? So I just
Mhm.
listened to it all and tried different types, figured out what worked for me and what didn't work for me, and the rest is history.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. And then obviously back home, my parents were my biggest influences because my dad still is a musician. I mean, he's been playing music all his life. He's a bass player,
Yep.
could sing a little background harmonies, but he was really helpful because he gave me a lot of insight on what it was like performing live, singing live. He couldn't necessarily teach me how to sing, but he could tell me what a musician goes through and
Hmm.
what he expects from a singer.
And
And he
how
was very
was it being on the stage for the first time, like in a band setting?
all like years later. So yeah, when well, he wanted me to perform with him when I first got out of college.
Yep.
Heck, he had me. It was kind of like quote unquote audition, like um, like the very last day of my senior year in the springtime. He was just like, "Hey, you want to perform with my band down local Holden?" I was like, "Sure," and it just clicked. And he was like, "I'd love if you perform my band. I can teach you everything. It'll get you experience, and hopefully it will get you attention from other bands. And in exchange, I get to perform my son. We get more attention because we have the super young guy that sounds different from how we sound." So
So you gave him like a cool young hip effect, right?
yeah, it wasn't as nerve wracking because I was with my dad.
Yep.
If anything, it was just more pressure on for him not to fail because he would tell me that night or next day if I sucked or
Yep.
if I didn't sound as good. And so it got to the point where I was never worried about the crowd or being nervous on stage. It was more about dealing with what my dad had to say. And he wasn't abusive like that. He wasn't
Yep.
physically, mentally abusive. It was just more of
He wanted you to do well, so he pushed you.
right. And he was realistic with me. He would be
Yeah.
honest with you, like, "Hey, like
No
you didn't sound
sugarcoating.
as good." He would be like, "Hey, you didn't sound as good doing this. I know you did, but you didn't." I would
Hmm.
either work on that part or try a different way of making it sound.
Yep.
And, it really helped. It really did. Even when I started joining different bands, I had my own shows and gigs. He would be very helpful in that regard. And my mom was very supportive too. She loved all types of music. Um, she's always told me like if she had talent, it would be to sing. So like whenever I sang for her or told her about stuff, it was always kind of through her to make her
Yep.
feel good and happy. I definitely have her personality too when I'm up on stage. And she pushes my buttons in kind of a funny way. She'll be like, "Oh, no one should try and cover this song. No one should try hitting those notes." I'd be like, "Challenge accepted." And she did that purposefully, knowing that
It would
I
improve you
suck.
over time.
Yeah, it hardened me because she would deliberately say stuff knowing it would push my buttons. Just
Yes.
to give a funny story about that, a couple of years back, it was her birthday. And a few weeks prior to that, she was just playing music that she liked and what she wanted to hear for her birthday. She was playing this Whitney Houston song, I Have Nothing, from the movie The Bodyguard.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just singing it for fun out loud. And she's like, you know what? No one should cover this song. Not even you, Billy. Okay. Like, no one should even attempt this. And she said it mostly being silly and jokingly, but she also knew that would kind of push my buttons because I told her I wanted to like try different material and songs to practice to. So I was like, all right, challenge accepted. So on her birthday, found this acoustic karaoke version on YouTube, had that as my instrumental, sang it to her in my own version. And she said she was really impressed. She was like, yeah, I love that you made it your own and you tried that song. She's like, that's what you should be doing on stage, trying different stuff and pushing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool and funny.
So what happened after high school?
Joining, well, why I wanted to join the acapella group is it's kind of multiple reasons. One, I still wanted to sing, but I wanted to do something different than chorus.
Yep.
Than just chorus. I wanted to try something different. And at that time, as you know, late 2000s, early 2010s, acapella became the thing, the fad. It was huge.
Yes.
Yeah, we were
That
talking about
was shown in Glee.
Yes, we were talking about
Yep.
that recently in
Yeah.
the first episode.
Yep.
In the first episode. Yeah, I remember in high school, Glee came out, and that first season, it was amazing. It really was like it really gave me inspiration. Like, man, like if this is popular, it sounds this good. I want to try it too. And of course, the Sing Off show was about that was super popular. That's how the Pentatonics acapella group came about, kind of like
Mhm.
American Idol for acapella group singers.
Yeah.
And of course, 2012, when we were seniors in high school, the movie Pitch Perfect came out.
Oh yes.
Yeah, right. And that movie was huge. That movie was
Mhm.
huge. And look, colleges and universities, especially big name ones, have always had a cappella groups, and they've been
But
at
they
the
never
forefront.
had the spotlight.
They never had the the big spotlight, right? Like the
Yeah.
mainstream.
It was dominated probably by like sports and different education programs.
Yes. And that took over. Then every school, college, university had to have an a cappella group and make that the forefront of what made their school fun
Hmm.
to be around and the fun environment to be around. And so that was kind of a motivating factor. Also also when I was in high school, my senior year, they were starting up an a cappella group and I wanted to be in it, but I was told um, that I wasn't fundamentally sound enough to be part of it. Kind of broke
Uh,
my heart, but I understood. Like I just got into it like consistently in high school. I was probably a little late of the growing process. I was a couple of steps
mhm.
behind, so I totally understood. But that pushed me like, fine, I'll try in college now that I'm motivated and ready to go. And it's funny because when I first did it, it wasn't even an official group. They didn't have the sponsorships, the marketing. They didn't have the funding to do a lot of different things.
Because it was the very beginning of everything, right?
The very beginning of everything. When you're just getting to the thick of things, you kind of you have to go into this growing phase. You basically have to prove you belong, otherwise they'll get rid of you. So they don't really give you much because they're worried that, okay, we give you all this funding and marketing and no one cares about it, then we wasted that time and effort.
Hmm.
That was kind of the Fitchburg State's attitude, especially just becoming a university. But I was kind of at that time I was very arrogant. I was just like, I'll make them an official group. I'll be a factor as in why.
Hmm.
And I have no regrets about that. It was not only was it the most fun time during my college tenure, it's probably one of the most fun, most memorable times of my life. Like I had so many fun experiences, so many fun performances, so many memorable moments connecting with friends there. I have no regrets about it. It was so much fun. It helped me grow into the singer I became because, like I said, you realize really quickly there's 10, 12 other singers that are just as good, if not better than you in some ways. You
Hmm.
have to find a way to stand out. And luckily I did. We became official at the very end of my freshman year. I was able to help that grow. it was always cool when I first got into reunions because people would say like, "Hey, he's one of the OG singers." He's one of the guys that made it
Mhm.
popular. So that brings a lot of joy to me. Um, oh, and in my senior year, it was named the best. My senior year, they were giving out awards for like fraternities, groups.
Mhm.
Um, they were giving out awards to all these after school activities, right?
Yep.
And we were named. How would you say it? Would you say group? I guess, right?
Yeah, one of the top groups or clubs.
Yeah, it was like we were named like the number one club of the year, or something like that. Club of the year. It was
Oh,
really cool because normally it's given out to a fraternity or sorority,
yep.
or even in most cases a chorus.
Mhm.
But it was cool. My senior year, we won that award, and I remember the president or the leader of our group at that time was Facebooking everyone. She sent me a personal message saying like, "Hey, you were a big part of this too. We appreciate everything you've done to make it popular and singing your solos." I'm
Mhm.
glad I was a contributor in that regard.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
So where do you want to touch now? Do you want to go into where you're at currently, or?
Yeah, I'm in two bands currently. One
Mhm.
is the Mass Blues Breakers, in which primarily those guys are from the Wellesley area. And then the
Okay.
band and we've been together since the fall of 2021. And
Nice.
I just recently joined this band right near where I live in Worcester called Focus, which is more of a funk R&B band.
Mhm.
And that would not have been possible if it wasn't for the experience and knowledge I gained from being in my dad's band, which I should probably say because I should probably give him a shout out. Shout out John Tatro, John Tato, as his friends like to jokingly call him. Shout out and shout out to my mom, Stephanie, Horace Tatro, love you too. Um, his band I've been playing with is called Lazy Dogs, like the Grateful Dead album
Mhm.
cover, because it's basically Grateful Dead cover band. That's like his go-to band that he loves playing with, performing with. When I joined the group, yeah, I did Grateful Dead songs, but I how do I say this? I wasn't feeling it the
Yep.
way that they probably were expecting me to. I gave it a different flair
Your own
because
little spice.
a little spice because my era or the music that I now really enjoy is a lot of R&B and soul music and
Mhm.
a little bit of pop music, but mostly like the R&B sound. Like I grew up listening to when I really loved music, I grew up listening to Usher, Justin Timberlake, Neo, even Bruno Mars when he does more soulful sounds.
Mhm.
That's more of my taste. And so, I would do Roll the Way to Do of Grateful Dead, and people would say it sounds like Justin Timberlake trying to sing it, which was different, which made it more fun to hear. And so they started incorporating different songs. They started doing more soft rock or more soulful rock tunes that they wouldn't have done before. And they tried, like, for example, Van Morrison's Into the Mystic. That's a very soulful tune, and that fits me perfectly.
Yep.
We've been doing recently Sneaky Sally, the Robert Palmer's version, which is still technically a rock song, but there's a lot of soulful sounds to it. And
Yep.
that fits me perfectly because I can give like a nice tone to it, but I can still be hard and aggressive at the same time.
And this is with the Focus Band.
This is with my dad's band.
Okay. Just
And
trying to
this,
keep track of it.
yeah, no, this is my dad's band. Well, the reason, and this helped me kind of figure out what I was really good at on stage, what made me happy and smile. So those type
Mhm.
of songs and sounds, what made me go. And it was a great transition when I met the Mouse Blues Breakers band because they incorporate some of those sounds into it. They were primarily a blues classic rock band, but now they
Mhm.
can incorporate sounds that have a little more soulfulness to it. Like we put in Sneaky Sally. Um, we also do the Black Crowes version of Hard to Handle, Otis Redding, which is an
Yep.
R&B tune, but turned into a rock cover, which is great for me. So stuff like that.
And how do you manage being in like three bands?
Well, the cool thing is now that I'm with two bands, the cool thing is now that I'm with two bands, it's really just like a part-time thing with my dad's band. Because to be honest, when I started with the Mass Blues Breakers band, I just primarily played with them.
Yep.
Still do. And now that I'm with Focus, since I've been with them last year, I've been just rehearsing with them. So it's kind of just been a part-time thing. My dad's band. Yeah, if they have a show, I'll sing a few songs with them. Um, if they have anything that comes up, I'll play with them for sure and do a few songs with them. But they also understand that my focus is on Focus. I just realized
No
that's
pun
funny.
intended.
No pun intended. And with the Blues Breakers, and he understands. He's been very supportive of that. So I'd say 2.5, as my
Okay.
dad jokingly says. He's like, "You're really in 2.5."
But where do you want to take your singing career now?
The ultimate goal is just to be the best singer I can be and to perform to the highest lengths I can be. And what I mean by that is, just being able to travel and perform and doing big venues. Doesn't have to be like the Gardens or anything like that, but if I can get a crowd of hundreds of people and I do that one time, I'll be happy. I'll be content. I can't complain because I know I'm not a pitch perfect singer. I know I'm not maybe the most talented in the world. But what
But
separates,
you
I
have
feel
some talent.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Coming from a friend who's seen me grow as a singer, right? You could definitely
Yes,
tell I've improved over the years. Yeah.
much improvement.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. See, he's a good friend, ladies and gentlemen. He's a good friend. Yeah. Um, what separates me is just the passion. Even if I don't sound 100%, even if I have no idea what I'm singing on stage, I always give it my all. Um, you could always tell I'm trying to be the best I can out there, and I'm always having fun. There's never a time you see me on stage and I'm not having fun. That's the most fun you're ever going to see me. Because off stage, I do love to socialize. I do love having a good time, but I'm a very low key kind of guy because as I've been taught by vocalists and vocal lesson instructors that save the energy when you're on stage. That's when it's most important. And there's no better feeling than being on stage. Um, but I do love performing locally. But yeah, I'd love to at one point do like big time gigs and try something solo for sure. I've had a little taste of it working in a studio, which I should give out a shout out to him too, Brian Franchetto. Shout out to you, man. We met up online. We talked about we wanted to get a certain sound out there through SoundCloud and through other people to get like their career started that way. He was very helpful with that for me in that process, teaching me how to sing in a studio setting with the
How did
headphones
you
on.
find him again?
He was just posting online, just like trying to reach out to singers that can help him record songs that he made because he has a lot of original beats and original songs that he created and produced, and he just wants singers to
Sing over them.
sing over them, basically. Yeah. And I put myself out there. I'm like, hey, I could be your guy, and I could give you a different sound maybe you weren't anticipating.
hmm
I could be that guy. In exchange, you're helping me out, getting my name out there. And that was a lot of fun. That was a fun experience. That was back in throughout the 2022 year. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And you guys together produced, what was it, a mixtape or an album? What would you call it?
Yeah. I call it a demo album. I call it demo album because as much fun it would be to do those songs live and bring them to life on stage, um, it's also just kind of a way of showing people that, hey, he does have talent and we can work with this guy. The songs are not perfect by any means. You could definitely tell there are times where I make mistakes in the songs, but that's just me learning. You're just
Mhm.
supposed to hear the potential in what I could do in a studio setting. That's kind of the idea and the sound that I want. If you hear if you hear all the songs, all the set lists I do on there, it's rock, it's soulful sound, it's R&B sound, it's a little bit pop rock sound. That's what I want, and that's why I call that album "Young Heart, Old Soul." So I'm young
Mhm.
at heart, but my appreciative of old time music is great.
Of course.
Yeah,
And
and
who are some of your
coincidentally,
influences?
oh yeah, biggest influences.
Justin
Well,
Timberlake, I know, is one of them.
there's a funny. He's my favorite artist for sure. Yeah, well, when I was even though I didn't sing at a very young age, I still listened to music that was going
Yep.
on TV, on the radio. And yeah, just Justin Timberlake was my guy because right, late 90s, early 2000s, NSYNC, right? There was no bigger pop band than NSYNC.
Some would debate Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys were huge. Yeah, they were huge. I was more of an NSYNC guy, but I love you, Backstreet Boys. Not. I still love them, still listen to them. But I really loved NSYNC because I thought Justin Timberlake was great. And then when he went solo, especially with the Justified album in 2002, 2003, I was
Mhm.
just like, I guess I'm gonna follow him, and then I was a huge fan. That album still has an impact on me because it's a little bit of everything in that album. It's a little bit of everything. It's not necessarily one type of sounds. It's a lot of different things, and he's trying different things, and that's kind of what made me think like, yeah, I want to be a singer and try different sounds and different
Mhm.
beats and measures. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that sounds great out there. And but Justin Timberlake was definitely my biggest for a male singer at that time, current. And then obviously, high school came out. I did the Suit and Tie album, right, with Mirrors. Suit
Yep.
and Tie was huge too. But it was funny. My parents loved all types of music. They had like CDs everywhere because back in the 2000s, right? CDs were the thing.
Mhm.
I would just take CDs and play them on my own and just listen to a bunch and enjoy them. Like I loved the Marvin Gaye Greatest Hits album CD. He's probably my biggest influence from the older generation standpoint. Because again, like he wasn't the most clear-cut singer in the world, but he was super passionate. He tried different things. You could tell every song he sang, he must have gave it his all. He probably lost his voice after every song he sang. Like that's the
Yeah.
attitude I have, definitely. And Al Green,
Yep. Of course.
because even at that time I had a high pitched voice and I would do a lot of falsetto, even still to this day. And Al Green was so smooth, even with falsetto. I was like, that guy is doing it. And some people consider falsetto a cop out, but he's super smooth and people love it, and he's making it his number one asset for singing. Then why can't I? I should probably dive into that aspect because part of the reason why I want to do this is to kind of explain to people what life is like as a singer, especially for me, right? What I'm talking about. So I would consider myself a tenor. And for people out there who don't know, so the lowest you can possibly go for singers is bass, which is low for a male, right? Think Johnny Cash, right? Very white with those super low notes. Tenor is high male. So male singers that can sing pretty high. So think, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Freddie Mercury, guys like those, right?
Yep.
Alto is the third highest in general. It's typically for female singers that can still sing, female singers that sing low in their range. So picture Adele, right? Britney Spears.
Yep.
And then sopranos are the female singers that can sing super high, and that's generally the highest notes that you can sing in general. So think Mariah Carey when she's hitting those super high notes. Think Whitney Houston, Dolly Parton. Those are singers that come to mind. So I'd be in the tenor. It's high for a male for sure.
Yep.
So that's typically what I can do. And I also say every singer has their own superpower, their own special abilities. When you learn very quickly being in choruses and a cappella groups that there technically is no such thing as the best singer because every singer is going to sound different and be different. Just because a singer can't hit a note you can doesn't mean they're not good. It just means they're really good at the notes they can hit. That's why you have bass group because those are the best male singers that can sing low. It's why you have tenors, male singers that can sing high. Doesn't mean we're better than bass. It just means that we have an ability to sing these notes and do it well because that's our range. What made me unique, the two things I would say that makes me unique is the versatility. In high school, college, certain songs I sing now, I can do a little bit of everything. I can do bass, tenor, baritone, which is in the middle, not too high, not too low. And I might not be perfect at every one of those, but at least I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think it was such a great blessing that I had that experience of, hey, try bass in the course of the song, try baritone in acapella. It was super helpful.
You're a well-rounded singer.
Well-rounded singer. Obviously, my natural range. It's funny because I talk and it's very low, but I can sing super high. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I enjoy doing it. The other thing is obviously the falsetto. I don't think there's too many guys that can do falsetto. I can do. If you want to go back to my Facebook videos, go back and look up One of These Nights by the Eagles. There's some super high notes on there. If you ever see me perform, you hear me sing One Way Out, Allman Brothers, those super high falsetto notes at the end. I don't think there's too many guys that can do that like I can for sure. So yeah, that I would say those are my superpowers, and that doesn't make me better or worse than anybody else. Oh, and of course, just my passion. Like I said, like I feel like you're gonna know the exact emotion that I'm singing.
Yeah.
You don't need to guess. You don't. It's not fabricated. I'm feeling that song. I wouldn't be singing it if I wasn't feeling it. So yeah, that's the way I think of it. That's the way I think
I'd
of it.
like to cover two topics with you before we have to go.
Yes.
What are some things that singers should do just to have like a good singing voice right now?
Yes. Yes, I would that's another part what I want to do is to give advice to singers and kind of go through what daily life is for singers. It's different for every singer, depending on what's going on in your life. You're not gonna be able to practice singing every day, and it's not worth practicing singing every day because you're gonna lose your voice. You know,
Mhm.
it's crazy. Your your vocal cords, it's weirdly one of the weakest muscles in the body, and yet we use it all the time to talk. So as a singer, you got to be really careful with how you treat your vocal cords. I mean, you should be able to sing the proper way through your diaphragm, which is under your abdominal area. Should be able to sing with great breath control through your lung capacity. But if you're hurting your throat, there's only so much you can do. So you
Yeah.
have to be careful. I would say for the daily life is just treating your body well, because musicians and singers go about practicing way different. Singers, it's way more of a physical thing. It's a mind, body, soul thing. Because this is no shade to guitarists or piano player. I love them. I appreciate them. I wouldn't be on stage if I wasn't there with them. But if they don't have a good night's sleep, or they don't sound good, they're not worried about that because they're playing guitar and piano, right?
Mhm.
Different singers, you're not getting good sleep. You didn't hydrate enough. You don't feel as physically strong on stage or active on stage. You're going to notice it's not going to sound as good. You're not going to last through a whole show. So singers should should feel healthy, both mentally and physically. Now, I'm not saying go out and work out every day and
Mhm.
do 50 pounds of squats and 200 pounds of bench press. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is like, hey, it can't hurt to go for a walk 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Just feel physically good about yourself. Make sure you're getting proper sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. But when it comes to foods and drinks, it's more of what you shouldn't be doing
Mhm.
in terms of eating and drinking. Like, I hate to break it to people out there that love drinking beer and alcohol. It actually dehydrates you more than it hydrates you,
Yep.
right? Caffeine, unfortunately, dehydrates you more than it'll hydrate you. So, a little bit of coffee is fine if you're a coffee drinker, but I wouldn't be having a full cup or two or three, because that's
Mhm.
not really going to do much for you. You're just going to get a sugar rush. You'll be fine with one song, and you'll be down out after two or three. It's not worth it. And unfortunately, people smoking, that's going to dry out your throat.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I know there's people out there that probably won't like what I say in that matter, but yeah, if you're smoking a cigarette before a show, it's going to dry out your throat, and you're not going to sound the way you're hoping to. You're going to sound very raspy, and you're not going to have the same control of your vocal cords.
Mhm.
And dairy, shouldn't be
Yes.
drinking milk, shouldn't be having yogurt or anything with cheese before you sing, because it actually clogs up your throat,
Yep.
especially
And
for like
affects the sound. Yeah.
huh?
It affects the sound.
Affects the sound. So it's really more about. So what I tell singers, like when they're like, "What should I eat or drink?" Like, it's more about what you shouldn't be doing. As
Mhm.
long as you're drinking plenty of water, you're hydrating, and you can get hydration through fruits and vegetables because they're very water based,
Yep.
and you're eating healthy meals, right? If you want to have grilled chicken before you eat, that's fine. You want to have fish before you eat, that's fine. You want a salad, just stay away from things that would dehydrate you more than hydrate you. That's why I tell people, because everyone has different eating habits, drinking habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the other thing is the thing that helps me out a lot is because sometimes I do get worried about how I sound on stage, and that takes over my brain a lot. The biggest thing that helps me out, because obviously not every day I'm going to be able to practice the way I want to. The biggest thing I work on a lot is breathing techniques and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of take time to myself to relax, kind of meditate, try to think about positive thoughts about, okay, you're a great singer. You got this. Just relax. Because if you're relaxed, that's gonna make you just focus on how to sing and not worry about everything else.
Yep.
And breathing, obviously. You should be able to breathe. You should breathe properly. You should breathe through your diaphragm, not just through your throat. You should be able to try doing breathing techniques for breathing through your nose. Taking calm, deep breaths. Hold your breath and then take it out slowly. Things of that nature. Those you should be working on as often as you can, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Like, hey, calm down, get your breathing going. You had a stressful day at work,
Yep.
Maybe take time, 5-10 minutes to sit down and try to calm yourself down.
Good advice.
The most motivational piece I use before I go up on stage to relax. I was going to join this band that lived too far away from me. They were like near Rhode Island. They really wanted me, but it just wasn't going to work because of the traveling and how too far away they were.
Mm-hmm.
But the one cool thing, the leader of that band told me, he's like, whatever band you join, you're going to be the Freddie Mercury. I just know it. I thought that was super.
I love that.
So I think about that all the time. And I'm not Freddie Mercury by any means. I mean, he's a terrific singer. Another inspiration of mine, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought to myself, like, that's what I want to be for singers. Like, if I'm not going to play instruments, I'm not going to set up equipment, I need to be that guy on stage.
Yep.
I need to prove to people this is why I'm up here with just the mic and the mic stand.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. The final thing before we have to go, tell us about some upcoming shows and shout outs that you want to do.
In terms of shout outs, obviously shout out to my parents. My mom and dad, they've been supportive during this whole process since I was young. The moment I told them I wanted to sing, they've been supportive the whole way. They're always excited about a show or a new sound I have cooking or new songs I want to try. They've always been supportive. So shout out to them. I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for them.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the acapella group, Harmonic Velocity, all the people that were there. It was a fun experience, and they really kind of put in my brain, you're a terrific singer. In terms of Mass Blues Breakers band, I want to shout out all the names. Andy Briney, the drummer, for finding me. Ralph, the bass player, love you, man. Action Jackson, as I like to call him. Steve, the guitarist. Ben on keys. And shout out to Focus Band, too, in Worcester. A lot of people think I joined that band because I want to leave Mass Blues Breakers band. That's absolutely not true. It's just because I want to expand my horizons and showcase more of what I can do, because they're a funk R&B band. That's more my wheelhouse, and it's a great match. Shout out to Dwayne for discovering me. Shout out to Ernie on drums. George on guitar, you're great. K Fingers and Dean at keys. Shout out to King T at percussions. And speaking of Focus Band, the biggest show I have coming up is going to be at Chopsticks. I don't know if people can see this. Ross, I hope you'll post.
I'll post it on the Instagram.
But I have a big show coming up with Focus Band. It'll be at Chopsticks in Leominster. For people who don't know what that is, it's an Asian food restaurant place, but they also provide music, live local acts. Typically, they just want the best live local acts they can find, and they're fortunate enough to call out my name, saying they can't wait to hear me sing on there. And that's my
picture. Can you hold that
here.
up closer to the camera?
Yeah. So Chopsticks, Friday night, February 28th at 8. It's going to be a 3-hour show from 8 to 11. Website is www.focusgroove.com, where you'll see my bio, these photos of here, maybe a couple of videos. So the photos of me and my mom, she's currently a photographer. A couple of years back, when I started doing more bands seriously, she started taking like these great headshots of me.
Can you move the photo out of the way? I move it out of the way so I can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better
she took
now.
some great photos, and as far as I know, she'll be at my show taking photos of me and helping them post online. I'll give her the credit for it. So she's been really helpful in that too.
You know, she has some great photos from a Brookline show I recently did. So I'm hoping those will come about and people she'll get noticed for that too. And then the other big show coming up, by the way, that show, you'll probably have to pay $10-15, but it's going to be a great show.
It's worth it.
Worth it. Even songs you won't recognize, you'll love the passion and energy. You'll love it.
Maybe you'll find some new songs you like too.
Yeah, you never know. So yeah, Chopsticks Friday night, February 28th at Leominster. It's 8 to 11. Stay as long as you want or as little as you want. The other big show will be with the Mass Blues Breakers Band. It'll be the Needham Town Hall show event as part of the Plugged In Band sponsorship. Andy Briney, if you go on Facebook and Instagram, Andy Briney will put more information on that about the positives the Plugged In Band does for people trying to get started in music for children and young adults. So it's a good cause. That will be Saturday night, April 5th.
Okay.
And like I said, there'll be more information on that on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook where it's more of a personal / music profile. Pretty much put everything on there. Billy HT, capital H hyphen lowercase t. All the music information is on Instagram for me. That's more my music profile. Same thing, Billy, capital H hyphen lowercase t, because my last name is Horace Tatro. Easier to explain to people that say HT.
All right. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to be your first guest, and I really hope this show takes you far. I really hope people come on here and say their story and just speak their mind. And I'm glad you're putting it in this show.
A platform.
Yeah, it's a great platform, man. I'm hoping the best for you, man. I want the best for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Dirty Berg. Always represent, man, right? Come on now, Dirty Berg. FSU.